Oh, we got to let that simmer for a minute. What up, everybody? Welcome. We had to have a family meeting. I had to call a family meeting, child, because things are just going berserk on the internet today. And we got to talk about it. So, first things first, we make sure all our friends and family everywhere can hear and see us. And I'll go deal with my problem, child. Okay, let's roll. All right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming and joining me. I hope you had a great week. Steeler Nation, we got a lot going on. We got to talk about that. Before I get into Steeler business, I would like to congratulate the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens. They'll be battling in the AFC Championship. And then you have the Detroit Lions, which I think is kind of exciting, and the San Francisco 49ers battling in the NFC. One of those guys from one from the AFC, one from the NFC, they will be at the Super Bowl in Las Vegas. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I've been looking at my agenda for Las Vegas. It's going to be insane out there. So I know the guys that are going to be playing in the Super Bowl are going to have a chaotic schedule all by themselves. But everybody coming and attending and working the Super Bowl, I feel sorry for you on that Monday after. All right. Today I don't have a whole lot, but something did cross my mind the other day, and I did say something about it on Twitter, and it had a lot to do with TJ Watt. And we see a little bit of it. I see a lot of it from fans, but as time progresses, and you'll see more. You'll see more people targeting TJ Watt. And they're going to target TJ Watt probably for one reason only. And the main reason is because he decided to come out and say that he wants to be coached by Coach Tomlin and only Coach Tomlin in so many words. So just know that the media and fans are going to find ways to slander him, say they don't want him on the team, use him as trade bait, all of those things, because that man came out and said those particular things on camera. So that is all. That's all I wanted to address today. We're going to get in here. Like I said, there's so much that happened on the internet. I wrote stuff down on a piece of paper, and I don't know where the paper at. What up, y'all? What's up, Jim?
What up?
How y'all doing?
I'm good.
I won't complain. It's another day.
It is. It's another day, and we made it. And we have so many things to talk about. Yeah. First of all, what y'all think of those games? Before we get into family business, let's just start off. What y'all think about those games over the weekend? The Ravens and Houston Texas game. I thought that was going to be real good, according to the first half, and then it's just kind of like,
Yeah, like you said. I mean, I thought it was gonna be a tight one at that first half. I mean, offensively, Texas really didn't have a whole lot going on, but when they got that kick return touchdown, I was like, man, I don't know.
For our guy, Steven Sims, man.
Steven Sims. Last year. I wish I had seen that, of course, while he was here, but
I feel like he had one once, and then it got like called back or something.
He had most of his splash on offense though. Like he was doing his thing on offense last year.
He gave us a boost when we didn't have Gunner when Gunner went down. He definitely gave us a boost.
But I mean, offensively, I mean, like catching passes and stuff like that. Like he, came in, did his thing on that part. But yeah, man, like I said, coming into the second half, I mean, they Ravens just took over in the second half. I mean, they was really, running the ball well. And offensively, it wasn't a slaughter, from the first half. But second half, man, they just came in. They immediately got that kick return, and brought it almost to the 50-yard line. And it was a right back today. It was the Lamar show, the LG show, So I mean, he went to running up. I think he got the bulk of his yards, almost 100 of his yards. Well, he had 100 yards, but I think he got the bulk of all of them yards in the second half. On them drives, I think they had like 2 or 3 drives that was like 6 or 7 minutes long. So they was burning that clock up, controlling the clock. Defensively, they was beating. They wasn't beating CJ Stroud up, but it was pressuring them.
I don't think they got a sack, right? They didn't get a sack, I don't think.
No, they didn't sack him. Houston
Yeah.
got 3 sacks, which was surprising. Which is
It looked
why they
like the
probably
Pittsburgh
came out.
Steelers on that first half, didn't they?
Man, look,
He was
they
getting
made
toe
they
up.
made they look. They pissed Lamar off. Lamar was heated. He came out and did him dirty in the second half. But
Yeah.
yeah, man. Once they started rolling, running, and controlling that clock, man, it was a wrap after that. I think
Yeah.
Lamar had 2 rushing touchdowns, and then he had that throwing touchdown in the second half, and that was it.
I mean, J. Rock pretty much summed it up. I
Yeah.
mean, I think
Covered it
just the
Yeah,
all.
second, not, no, no, I mean, nah, say less. But it
right.
was just that, I think the second half, the offense decided to match the intensity that the defense had was already putting out, so
Mhm.
it became more of a unit in the second half to where I think, it was just overwhelming for the Texans. But don't get me wrong, like for the Texans, first year head coach, rookie quarterback, and then you lose a Tank Dell, but then Nico Collins step up. They're to be commended for. They put out a hell of a fight. I thought it was going to be a much closer game, but
Yeah.
I didn't think the Texans would win. On my show, I did a surprise pick where I said the Ravens and the Lions was my Super Bowl picks. So,
Mm.
but it's sad though, because I try, with everything that we do, our heart is Pittsburgh, but we try to be objective because I can't just talk from the sleeve of a fan at times. You really got to talk perspectives. And I just think that, anytime the Ravens offense can match the defense's intensity, I think they're a hard team to stop.
Yeah. They're look, I have so much respect for the Baltimore Ravens. I've always had respect for the team and the way that the style of ball they play, just especially on the defense, right? We know that we compete with that 2 times a year every year. So it's just a respect thing. I think that's the most respected team in the division for sure. And I feel like they kind of just match us. Not at the quarterback position at the moment, but they just like really match us. So this Kansas City Chiefs matchup and Baltimore Ravens matchup is going to be interesting because if you told me that this was going to be it with the Kansas City Chiefs that we saw in the beginning of the season, I'd be like, this is a cakewalk for the Ravens. But I don't know. Patrick Mahomes finds a way to just when their backs against the wall, figure out a way to get this team a win. So we'll see. It seems like it should be easy for the Ravens, but I don't think anything is easy when Patrick just figures out how to make something out of nothing.
I
Yeah,
agree.
Did he
I
freeze up?
uh, I definitely agree with what everybody said. That's why I was just quiet. Like when the Ravens offense match their defense is kind of hard. If they play into your psyche, I honestly thought that the Texans would have picked up on the blitzing because that's what was killing them in that second half. They
Mhm.
started blitzing and CJ Stroud looked like he couldn't even get through his reads because it was I think 3 times he missed the open 12. What's his name? His go-to receiver.
Nico,
go.
Nico Collins.
Yeah, he missed some wide open twice. That game would have been way closer if he would have seen him.
Ugh.
But Ravens started blitzing, and you know, I agree with you, bro. I'm trying to see it from a broad perspective, but I just feel like if we were playing Ravens, I don't care who we had a quarterback, we the Lamar killers. So that's
And
my
we
little Pittsburgh bias.
look, we might have had TJ back according to rumors and reports. So who knows? Who knows what happened? But before I guess got cut off there, I was impressed with how Green Bay played up until maybe like 3 or 4 drives in. I thought Green Bay could have definitely stolen taken that game away from the 49ers. And I've said this over and over again. It was that third down play, third and I forget the number now. It wasn't long, but I felt Jordan Love could have ran for that first down versus throwing that incomplete pass and just continue. This is before the 49ers went down and scored that touchdown.
Yeah.
It could have extended that drive, taken some more time off the clock, just put them, possibly even scored again. I know people look at the interception and look at the missed field goal, but I look at that play that put San Francisco back on that field for them to score, and it was just unfortunate.
But even before then, though,
Mhm.
even before that particular drive in the fourth quarter, there was, I think, about 2 or 3 consecutive drives in the fourth quarter where I think at that point he was more so really just trying to force the ball because he, like you
Yeah,
said, he had open lanes on two critical third downs, and especially on the interception one. He just he forced that. But I Jordan Love too. With all the critics that came against him and the naysayers that downed him before he even really got a shot. He was surprising as well. But I honestly thought Green Bay was really going to pull that out.
yeah, me too. But look, Detroit, I low key like the Detroit thing. So we'll see what happens there,
Detroit or
man.
Baltimore. That ass whooping Baltimore gave Detroit. Detroit or Baltimore.
I, yeah, yeah.
They owe them.
Even one of them, because
I think
both
Detroit
of
would definitely
Baltimore
be looking for
smacked both
revenge
of
if
them.
they get in the Super Bowl.
San Fran too, right?
Yeah, Baltimore
Yeah,
smacked
Yeah,
San Fran on Christmas.
everybody.
yeah.
Let's
But
see what they do with
Detroit
Patty
owe them.
Mahomes. Okay, y'all. So family meeting here. Actually, Alex, I'm glad you're here because there's no way I can keep track of everything that's happening. I don't know if you guys been seeing everything that's going on. I'm sure while we're having this conversation, some other news will break. Um, you know, I don't even think I have the full list of everything that I captured. The strength and conditioning coach, and Rowe, who I think is awesome, is gone. Gerald Alexander is gone to the Raiders. I'm probably
Mhm.
missing some people from the gone list, possibly leaving quarterback coach Mike Sullivan. You have the OXC interviews happening. Kingsbury, uh, Zach Robinson. Did he get? Did he? They say what day his interview was?
No, not yet.
No.
No, okay. And then Thomas Brown from the Carolina Panthers. I'm sure there's someone else that I just don't know or missed. And then we have Terrell Austin, 2-year deal extension here for defensive coordinator. And again, I know I missed something. It's just so much happening at once.
That was one decision I was disappointed with, though. That Terrell Austin 2-year extension. I
Yeah.
was just a little disappointed.
I don't know. I mean, I can't. I'm not saying I'm disappointed, but I can't say that I didn't see that coming. But Alex, out of all those things, that I missed something?
No, I think you hit everything. But like you said, there'll probably be 10 other pieces of news to come in here as we talk.
Okay.
It has been a busy time of year. Yeah, I'm fine with Terrell Austin coming back. I think for all the injuries this defense suffered last year, to be down to your fifth and sixth string inside linebackers, your fifth and sixth string safeties, you're pulling Miles Jack off the couch. And they were the 6th ranked scoring defense last year. They were better from a points per game standpoint last year than they were 2 years ago. They created turnovers, the sack numbers improved. It wasn't perfect. There were mistakes, there were problems, but for how much that scheme had to be pared down and really just kind of almost like, day one install type stuff just to try to get some of these guys to be on the same page. I thought they did a good job to persevere and not fall apart. And they gave up yards, but they didn't allow that many points. And the red zone defense was really, really good in terms of, takeaways and things like that. So we know that Mike Tomlin has a heavy hand in that defense anyway, so it makes it tough to evaluate Terrell Austin specifically. But I think Austin's done a good job for what he's had to deal with the last 2 years.
Yeah, I didn't see that change. So when people got mad about the what's his name, Brian Flores thing, I'm like, TA is there. He ain't going nowhere until he actually has to mess up a little bit. I think he did good with what was handed to him. And I'm interested to see. We're maintaining the offensive line coach. Looks like we might be losing Mike Sullivan at the QB coach. Looks like we'll be, of course, we're in the conversation of adding QBs to the room. Um, I, I think this offense is going to have a different identity. Are you guys just like confident in that? Like, there's some
I mean, it's
based
more.
off
I
the guys
hope
that
so.
they're gonna, huh?
Yeah, it's more of a hope. There's more of a hope. I mean, new identity is something I feel like we need on offense.
Yeah,
So
I'm optimistic that that's going to happen here. I'm not saying, look, I don't know nothing about Thomas Brown because obviously they didn't have weapons on offense out in Carolina. So I don't know. Do you guys know anything about Thomas Brown that I need to be putting on my radar?
I
No,
didn't. Not from.
I'm not. My bad.
Nah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead,
I'm
Sarah.
about to say I'm not that familiar with with Thomas, but I did have a question. What y'all think about Kubiak?
Yeah. Oh, you talking about for OC?
Yeah,
Right, for Pittsburgh?
correct.
Yeah, no, I think he should be. I think he should be brought in for an interview. I think Pep Hamilton should be brought in for an interview. I think they're qualified. I'm just glad that we're going externally. I'm gonna just jump for joy there first. That what I'm saying, we're actually going outside the organization, and it was a focal point, and it was intentional that it was said in that manner. So I'm just jumping for joy there first, that we actually get some fresh new blood in to kind of break some of the monotony that has been taking place on our offensive side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
On Thomas Brown, he's former running back. That's kind of more of his background. He went to Georgia.
Mhm.
First time OC in Carolina this year. He's got that McVay tie. He was with the Rams a couple years prior to getting hired by
Mhm.
Carolina. So you see Zach Robinson, McVay tree. You see Brown, McVay tree. It is tough, though, to evaluate him. And it's interesting because Mike Tomlin had said it as year-end presser. They're going to prefer a coordinator with experience. And we don't know all the names, and there's going to be more names added here. But Zach Robinson, never been an OC before. Brown was an OC in Carolina, but he had very limited play calling duties. Frank Reich initially had them. The Panthers offense was miserable. Thomas Brown got play calling duties for, I think, 3 weeks midseason. And then Reich
Mhm.
took control back after that. And then Reich got
Mm.
fired and kind of went, downhill from there. So we don't have a whole lot to evaluate him as a play caller because he has not done much of it. But again, that younger up and comer McVay tree, that's Thomas Brown's background.
D, I find interesting, and when we talk analytics of coaches this year, nowadays, before coaches used to have resumes, right? But now
Mhm.
we're in an era now where it's like, you'll tell me that a coach
Where you
such
come
as
from?
Eric Bieniemy, can't get a head coaching job, and we got these coaches just because they come from under a coaching tree, and they only had 1 year in that position, and because there may have been some highlights to whatever it is they done, they automatically become head coaching material, and I just think that's crazy, to say that a guy who only does it for 1 year, whether he has success or not. Let's see what he goes through and challenges as well. I just think that when they make an excuse for one coach, and I think they're just trying to get coaches from under the tree. Like forever, we saw Bill Belichick coaches getting hired, and none of them were
Yeah.
successful,
Yeah.
but they all were still getting opportunities. Whether that's Matt Patricia, whether that's O'Brien, whether that's Josh McDaniels, the coach went, left, got fired, came back to New England, left, got a head coaching job, took it, then quit it, went back to New England, then got another head coaching job to only get fired again. I think, they put a lot of emphasis under these coaching trees before. Coaching trees meant a lot. And I think Kyle Shanahan and McVay may be like the last of the Mohicans.
So I have a question for you guys. Do you think, or is there anything about the few guys that they have on their radar? Does it sway you towards a particular quarterback style in any way, or maybe a particular quarterback that may be on the market? Do any of these guys help you figure out what way they could be leaning towards in the QB room?
Well,
Man, you
honest.
get.
Go ahead, Jay.
Okay.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say the only person I really could say that's gonna sway me to anybody is this guy behind me, Cliff Kingsbury. But I mean, it's really not promising to say that just because of his resume. But then again, the quarterbacks that are out there, like I said, my personal favorite is for us to pick up Justin Fields. And maybe with his play style, they may be able to get something cooking, but that's just because of his play style and the type of quarterback he is and the type of success that Kingsbury has had with mobile quarterbacks. So I mean, like I said, other than that, like I said, we really don't know the resume of other coordinators that are out there that are available. But I mean, that's pretty much all I had.
Oh, I always say it, Kingsbury and Justin Fields Kingsbury gives you a Justin Fields vibe.
I think that what we have available, the pieces that are available, they fit the best together.
Okay.
To what J Rock was saying though, so my opinion when it comes to offensive coordinators, regardless of what style of offense they play, at some point it doesn't always really pertain to what they can do, is how they can adjust, right? So when you look at they have to be able to adjust to the quarterback that they have, and they have to be fluid enough to be like, okay, he's a pocket passer first, he's mobile second, or he's semi-mobile pocket, but he may look for the entry lane first. Clint is the best because I think he can coach both styles when it comes to the quarterbacks that he has coached. But if you look at the Ravens, their head coach came in and the quarterback was already there. So he had to tailor his offense to Lamar's skill set. So he's doing everything to pull the strengths out and the skills out of his quarterback, and not the opposite way around, trying to make a quarterback fit into his system. Any great offensive coordinator knows that you don't force a player to fit your scheme. You fit their skill set.
Style of play. Yeah.
I like the suggestion you guys made about Pep Hamilton, but I think he's going to go to the Chargers with Harbaugh because he's a Michigan guy. They work together, and they could use a quarterback, coach there, maybe an OC situation where he was actually in Los Angeles before and worked with Herbert his rookie year. If I could just say two quick things, I agree. Whenever, part of the OC hiring process will be aligning visions. The Steelers will outline, this is our vision for the quarterback situation. How do you, fit into that? They're not going to be misaligned. And more likely than not, the OC will have to fold his style into what Pittsburgh wants as opposed to the other way around. So if they want Pickett and Rudolph, if he resigns to Battle, that's what the OC is going to have to work with. And then on Kingsbury, I know that's the report, and Peter King had said that, but are we even sure they're actually interviewing Cliff Kingsbury? The only person to say that was Peter King in a very just off-the-cuff, casual remark. No one else has made mention of it. So I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm just kind of waiting for some additional word because that was the only time it's been mentioned, and no one's mentioned it since. And he's interviewed with Chicago, interviewed with Philadelphia. None of the other national beat guys have said, Kingsbury's talking to the Steelers. So I'm still kind of waiting on that to actually get confirmed.
Yeah.
And then
Dex.
No,
I'm sorry. Yeah, Dex rejoined us.
Sorry. So my thing about this whole OC thing is I feel like or better yet, it's a question, not more of a comment. What do you guys think about them kind of declaring what type of quarterback we're going to have? Because before we decide on the OC, I know that's kind of backwards, but you got to think about it. Mason, who we have in house now, Mason and Pitt.
He's a free agent, so he's not there technically.
True. But if he does come back, right? Hypothetically, they're two different style quarterbacks. So I feel like whatever OC we bring in really can't say, oh, this is like the style I want to run. I think they have to be malleable. They have to be bendable because Mason is a standstill pocket. I'm not running until I have to. And Pickett is, I'm a bail out if I feel it. You get what I'm saying? So those are two. So my question is, like, how do we remedy that? How do you think we would remedy that? Because I personally think that,
No, I was gonna say you said something. I kind of was alluding to that when you cut out. And the thing is, nowadays offensive coordinators have to be flexible. They have to have many ways to pull the skill sets from their quarterbacks because they may be special in this area, but like I brought up the Lamar Jackson situation. He got a new offensive coordinator this year, right? The offensive coordinator skills, his style of play was not what the Ravens run, but what he did was he changed his playbook to fit the skill set of Lamar Jackson. And any good offensive coordinator have to be able to adapt in those situations where your style of play can't be our bread and butter because that's not the skill set and that's not the strengths of the person that we have under center. So you have to be able to adapt in those situations.
So I feel like that needs to be on your resume. So like that should be, a qualification or a check mark that you have experience doing that in those situations.
I mean, but look, we talked about that earlier though, right? When we talk about resumes are getting shorter.
Yeah.
Like we're taking guys after 1 year of doing a coordinator duty, or they even gave Joe Judge, a special teams coach, the opportunity. So resumes don't appear to be getting longer; they appear to be getting shorter. Based off, for me, it's the who's under who and who likes who.
And then with identity, you guys had mentioned earlier, I think regardless of what that is for Pittsburgh, the most important part is they realize that early. The last 2 years, they've not really found themselves until the back half of the year. This year, the last month or so, they became that bully ball. They talked about the entire offseason. They could not, in this AFC North especially, you cannot wait until week 12 to kind of figure out who you are and who you want to be and execute that vision. So I thought 2 years ago, Pittsburgh really had no vision or identity. This past year, they had an identity, or they had a vision of what they wanted to be. They couldn't actually execute that. This year, it's all got to come together. They have to know who they want to be and execute upon that immediately, because you just can't fall behind with how competitive the AFC in this division is.
Alex,
Yeah,
remember Pittsburgh interviewed Pep Hamilton before we hired Matt Canada.
Yeah, it was Hugh Jackson and Pep
Yeah.
Hamilton and Matt Canada. Yeah, I would like Hamilton back for sure. I think, especially over Canada with the way this thing turned out. So again, I think he might go back to the Chargers.
And remember,
I'm gonna
then
let you go,
Canada.
Jeremy. But
Oh, go ahead.
where did you say Pep Hamilton was going?
He said he thought he might go to the Chargers because that Michigan
Okay.
connection with
Oh
the
yeah.
Harbaugh
So
with
that's what I'm
Jim.
talking about next. But I'm gonna let Jeremy go. We'll talk about that because we're talking about the
yeah. I was
AFC
just
in general.
Yeah, I was just going to add to kind of like what Alex was saying as far as like finding our identity. I think that that's really kind of like what was our struggle on the last, 6, 7 years while we've been on this, playoff loss skid. The fact that we, like I said, you don't have an identity till mid to late season, and I mean at that point it's kind of like your back up is against the wall. When you need to make those plays, you have to make those plays through one particular phase of the game, and that's how we have done it. But it obviously hasn't led to any type of success. So I think that speaking into what you were speaking on earlier, D, as far as like the Ravens and their strength, I feel like they found the type of, especially in the quarterback room, they found a prototype of player that they are able to kind of plug and play with. And that's why we've seen that even in 2020, I think when Lamar was hurt,
Well, even last season as well.
He was hurt last season too.
yeah, last season too. But when he was hurt, they still had a success. They were still able to kind of like thrive because it was like plug and play. We
Right.
always call Snoop Lamar Jr. Just because of his ability, what I'm saying, to be able to run. And I mean, you have the weapons. You're in the NFL. You can make those type throws, and you got the weapons. But if you have one player that is a pocket passer and the next person will take off at a moment's notice, your playbook is like really kind of like up in the air and unbalanced. And I mean, you really don't have a direction, like you said, an identity to kind of, formulate your offense around.
The Ravens were strategic because they got all three quarterbacks had the same skill set.
Right.
Both backups are basically Lamar Jackson-esque. Like they have that same athletic ability.
And they've been going that way, going back to when they had RG3.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
go ahead.
No, just real quick. I feel like bump the OC, yes, is important. Our QB is important, but I feel like the mainstay that's going to really hold us down, no matter who we get and no matter who plays behind, is we got to reassure this offensive line. I think we need to go for a center, a top-notch A1 center, because I'm looking at I remember when the center from the Ravens, I forgot his name, when he was drafted. That locked it in for
from Iowa, right?
Yep, that locked it in for anybody that played behind him. Then the same thing that happened with KC. When they got their center, it's like that's the key. Because you can do whatever when you have a great offensive line. No matter if you a stand in the pocket or you want to run, that cohesiveness is what's going to glue and keep that offense afloat.
I think Isaac was like the strong suit of that
Yes,
offensive line. I've
he
been wanting a
was.
center since training camp. I've been calling for centers to come in and try out since camp. They really got to figure that position out. Um, it was one of my concerns, especially because
Me too.
we knew Kendrick Green wasn't the answer at that position
Mm,
in a backup capacity, anyways. You know, so
in the green.
that's definitely one of the positions I'm not sold on there more. Of course, Jukes is I don't we know how that
Hey,
situation played out. I think Broderick played really well. I have nothing bad to say about Daniel Jones. I'm sure someone else does. I just don't. But I just think Isaac was just a stud.
he didn't give up one
And
sack in
and when
pass
you
protection.
brought up Lindenbaum, did he drop? He was like supposed to be one of the top guys drafted, but like drafted, he dropped. I don't know what pick they got him at, but he dropped
And the
significantly.
Ravens just got him. I was so mad.
Yeah. I think they were talking about his arms were short. They were coming up with something, and he ended up dropping. I forget what it was. I forgot what.
Hey
Um,
D,
yeah.
before we leave from the Steelers, one thing I want to say about offensively, yeah, we do need identity, but the other thing we lacked this year was a true leader. Like we did not have a true leader on offense, and
Mhm.
although we got leaders on defense, they don't transform the offense to doing offensive things. We need somebody that's going to stand up on the offensive side and be like, this is Steelers business. This is how we conduct ourselves. Like this is how we play. This they didn't have that. They lacked leadership on the offensive side.
And just to kind of like add on to that, I mean, most teams offensively, that your offensive leader is your quarterback.
Mhm.
If you have a younger quarterback that's not as confident or has not been as successful, as when it comes to commanding the offense, because he's
Right.
still trying to get used to the team, that he's not going to do that. I think, like I said, coming into this year and even last year, the focus was supposed to be Najee, and Najee was supposed to be the leader of the team. But offensively, they couldn't get rolling. So I mean, like he was running, he was playing decent, last year, and then of course this year he had a good year. But I mean, with that being said, like I said, most teams consider their quarterback as the leader of the team, and then you got all these young
Yes, many
players. You got
do.
George Pickens, Deontay
Yeah.
Johnson, up and down. It just, and then the offensive
Mhm.
line changes every year. Even though they're veterans, they still have no clout when it comes to that locker room. So
But I
Yeah,
think
and
the
I
offensive
think
line
Allen
did good this year though. This was our third off. This was like our third rotating offensive line in 3 years.
mhm.
No, I think they did do good. I think Allen Robinson, even though he was new to the team, he came into the season trying to be, the leader, trying to help the young guys, trying to be that veteran on that team. I think that's still hard to do when you don't have that rapport with a quarterback, you don't have the rapport with the room. But like I'm still like the OG. I've been in the league, but I just don't have the rapport with these guys to be that leader. And I think they need to bring someone back like an Allen Robinson for things like that. Like I've witnessed this, I've been around this, I've seen this. I don't know if people agree, but that continuity and lead and be able to guide guys after filling them out for a year could definitely do some good. Um, when we see things like that, like not having that identity and leadership, I saw that for a long time, and I was like, look, Najee got to step up. He got to lead. He's the guy that's been here the longest for the most part. Like he's got to kind of lead these guys. And in some ways I think he did. I think he spent some time on the side with Mason Cole. I think he's been vocal about, look, we can't win like this. We can't continue to win games like this. We're not going to get far if we do. And I think in some ways he's shown you he was the leader of that offense, in the good times and the bad. And I think when Mason came in, it really gave me the feel of the Ben days. It seemed like Pittsburgh Steeler football that we had seen in the 2000s, just having the run game. I guess early 2000s, like when you had the Le'Veon Bell, and then when you had the AB, you had to throw, you got your George Pickens or even like a big old Mike Wallace play down the field. Like it just seemed nostalgic a little bit and different than what we were used to seeing with Kenny and the rollouts and the whatever. I feel like I'm going on a
Yeah.
tangent, but it just felt good to see something that we weren't used to, and 30-point games, right? Like, huh.
Najee need to talk to Najee needs to talk to Jerome and see how he did it because in them early 2000s and late 90s, Jerome was the lead of the team. Ben was a rookie, you know, and Jerome stepped up. He led it. You
But
understand? He needs to he needs to talk to them and be vocal. I hate when they I just lead by example. No, someone needs to be a vocal leader, not just on camera. You know, you need to lead your team. You need to be breaking the offensive huddle before games. When they huddle up and TJ and Cam huddle on defense, Najee, you need to huddle up with your offense and you be that vocal leader. That's what I
Look,
Listen,
look,
go ahead, Jay. I saw you with your hand.
I was say, let me put my church finger up.
I mean,
Oh,
Respectfully to Jerome Bettis, he was definitely a lead on offense. I mean, but you also gotta think about your Alan Fanekas,
that's yeah,
your Hines
yeah.
Ward.
Your
You know what I'm
haha.
saying?
Hardens.
Those type of offensive, like I said, when you got a young rookie in there that is sitting there trying to get accustomed not only to the league but your offense as well. You had those veterans, and I mean, of course, you know how you had multiple offensive linemen. I think that carried that.
Yeah,
But if I'm not mistaken, Wayne Gandy was still there too.
yeah.
But I mean, as far as like leaders that were able to kind of like, all right, look, calm down, young fella, we got this. You know what I'm saying? All you gotta do is make sure you hand the ball up this way. We're gonna clear it open for you.
Not
You
only
know,
that, you had your
we gotta
Hines
do is hand me the
Wards,
ball. I got it. We're gonna score.
and you had your Hines Wards.
Yeah,
You
Yeah,
know,
it
you had
definitely got to get the
you
Hines
had
Ward.
those players that were there before Ben, even before Jerome, that was able to tell them to still away like what the identity of us looked like, and they actually passed the torch and carried it along the way. We didn't have anybody pass the torch offensively because it's been so interchangeable that there was nobody to pass it to.
yeah. So you had
One,
like the Cam Haywards and stuff. But go ahead, Alex.
yeah, I would say just quickly, one kind of longer term concern I have with this team, and I know there's always an imbalance in one side of your team is always stronger than the other, but Pittsburgh had the oldest defense in football this year. They had the third youngest offense in football. So my worry is by the time this offense matures and grows, you're replacing the defense and you're starting all over there, and you're just constantly on this seesaw, this back and forth. And some of that's out of your control, but that's a worry for the long-term future of this team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, because look,
Mm.
there's talks out there for trades. They're between the Minkas, TJ. People, there's talks out there, and I'm not saying the team is considering. I'm just saying the what they could get for the value of some of these guys on defense.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
Cam Hayward's gonna be what 35. Like he's got a
yeah,
couple years left, and once he's gone, and TJ's about to be 30. He's still got a lot of ability. Obviously, I'm not questioning that, but it's an older
yeah.
defense, and at some point you're gonna have to get the kind of turnover rebuilding on that side of the ball as the offense has gone through the last 2-3 years. Are you going to be constantly kind of trying to play catch up on the other side? That may be something Pittsburgh has to deal with.
I would like to see us draft a defensive tackle because Cam, while he may have a couple years, he only have a couple more starting every snap, 30 snaps a game years. Because we seen Cam
Right.
getting blown off the ball. He looked like he was playing linebacker with Miles Jack last game.
Yeah,
Whoa,
I mean,
he had
I
a
know
He was
groin.
battling the
that
groin,
groin
so
That's
injury
he's
is
never fully
serious,
that's
recovered.
right?
my guy. He
That
had a
groin injury.
groin.
And
He
that's
was
okay.
not healthy.
And that's okay. But we still gotta be able to recognize the fact that
Sure.
that still was a liability for us on defense. If you're not healthy, it's one thing to be able to play half hurt and you still be you're making impact some ways, but him not being able to fire off and from you being a trench guy, your lower extremities is your most important part because that's how you fire off the ball, right? That's how you stand ground and get positioning to be able to grapple with the offensive lineman. If he can't put that pressure on that groin to do it, it does us no justice because it was making run lanes super open.
Wide open.
So, do
Yeah.
you think that we need to get a because I personally think Keanu Benton is a replacement for Cam once he gets because he got it. He had a phenomenal rookie year. I
Yeah.
think we need a replacement for Ogunjobi. That's what I think. He didn't play up to his contract.
Um, I don't know. I don't. I
But
think it was probably consistency with Ogunjobi for me.
Right.
I think he just had really good spurts, but
but you
just
got to
maybe
remember
not.
Depending for
his.
spurts.
But you got to remember his position, right? In a 3-4,
Yeah.
his job is really to hold up the line to allow the T.J. Watt and the Alex Highsmiths to make those plays. His role, really, in certain plays, is to be a distraction. His role isn't to necessarily on pass rushing downs. Okay, yes, but on rundowns, he's more so. That's why when you see in the playoffs when they call defensive holding on defensive linemen, like that's typically his role, not to hold them, but his role is to really cause a distraction to free up the edge guys from going. It's not necessarily to be aggressive in a 3-4 defense.
Yeah, he didn't
How did
cause
you
enough
feel?
distractions.
How did you feel
Cam
How
brought
about
the
TJ?
distractions.
How
Larry's?
TJ got how many sacks?
But
How did you feel
How
about
many?
I
his
don't.
play, Alex? I'm curious.
About Ogunjobi's?
Yeah,
No, I think he summed it up. He was hot and cold. He had his moments, but there was, I mean,
yeah.
he got signed good money, like you guys said, and 3 sacks each of the last 2 years. I know sacks are not say all end all, but a pressure rate is not where it needs to be. So, I mean, I think he'll be back because their depth is so poor. But yeah, I think Benton, he's going to play nose tackle. Benton's primarily a nose tackle. And so Hayward's going to play that 4-eye, 3-tech more often. And I agree. Listen, when Cam Hayward got drafted, I think people probably were surprised because they didn't have a real obvious need. They had Brett Kiesel, they had Aaron Smith, but
Mm.
those guys were about to leave and they needed to find somebody to replace them before they absolutely had to. I think the same has to apply to Cam Hayward, where you need to draft somebody sooner than later to give them some time in this system as Hayward is playing his final maybe 1 or 2 years of his career. I think this is just all over again what happened with Hayward, because Hayward didn't start his first 2 years. He sat, he waited.
Yep.
That's not going to be as extreme in this day and age, but you need to find that replacement before you're in an offseason where you absolutely have to find that guy. And there is really no depth. DeMarvin Leal, complete disappointment. Loudermilk rotational base set, nothing more than that. They have not found the guys to
Montravius.
replace him.
Yeah,
I
Montravius
forgot
either.
about the He
Montravius
got
Adams either.
yo. What do you guys think about running it back with our three linebackers?
Who? What three
Quan,
I,
linebackers? Which
I
ones?
Quan
Holbert,
Alexander.
Hol-
I'm signing up for Quan in any landing for sure.
yo,
I
me
like all
too.
of them. I like all of them. They was all productive until they
Yeah.
got hurt. I
No,
mean,
no, no. Look. I feel like I haven't seen Cole Holcomb in so long. I forgot.
yeah.
But
But I'm just
but Quan,
remembering from the beginning of the season, they was all downhill and productive until they
Quan
got
brought a
hurt. I mean,
Quan
Quan.
brought a
I think.
swag.
I
He
think.
brought a
I
swag
think.
to the defense.
Say it again.
I said Quan brought a swag to the defense. Like
Yeah, absolutely. Because he
Yeah,
was
he was a
popping.
he's
popper.
also
He was a
not.
popper.
But he also gave up some yards in the passing game. So
Oh,
that was
got
his
it.
downfall. He gonna pop you running downhill, to make the tackle. But I mean, I think that we had a good rotation when it came to Cole
Landon
Holcomb being
Roberts.
that
Yeah.
that passing coverage linebacker, and Atlanta Roberts being able to come downhill and hit you. And then when we had to rotate, Quan could do the same thing, as Roberts was doing. But when everybody got hurt, we was like stuck in the water.
Mike,
The beauty that I saw with the injuries was Elandon getting some shine. The amount of snaps he was getting in the beginning of the season, I hated that for him. Because I felt like he could shine more. He could help us. Obviously, we saw him help us stop the run, and that was the downside for just having guys that everyone thought was good. But I wanted him to get more playing time, but I didn't want it to necessarily happen because someone got injured. I wanted him definitely to get those more snaps, but you saw something in him that I think everyone can say is worth, keeping on the team, playing through the injuries, just him just putting himself out there for this team. I love that.
my concern with Quan, and he was having a really good season. The last thing he popped was his Achilles. Dude's got 2 of them in his career. He's 30. That's a tough thing to come back from. So I'm not opposed to bringing him back in the summer just to see. But you're 30 years old. You've torn 2 Achilles in both your feet in your career. It's tough to come back from that. So I think you have to plan without him. And if he can come back and show something, great. But at this point, it's Holcomb, it's Roberts, and maybe Mark Robinson in year 3 if he can earn some more trust, and because he's a downhill dude, he's a popper, he's an energy tone setter, but can he run the defense? Can you trust him? Can he play in coverage? That's always been the concern.
Coverage.
I can't trust him. Mark Robinson looked lost in the pass defense again. I'm like, bro, like, come on.
Not talking about my guy.
I like Mark Robinson.
He looks so lost. He looks so lost in pass coverage. I'm like, come on, bro. Just drop back. Drop back, tackle the play. That's it. You look lost.
One of the number one guys I want to come back with Eric.
What he supposed to do? Dax hit that T-step?
Yeah, bro. Like, come on, man. He just looks so lost. Like, the play over there.
Eric Rowe. Eric Rowe's my guy. He got to come back. He's not my guy, but Eric, I just felt like he just with our and we made this point. Alex made this point with the age of our defense, and we saw the injuries and how guys just went down, and maybe guys needed an extra week or two to recover, or whatever it may be, right? For the young guys to come in and step up, you just love to see that. And with the Eric Rowe, I was just so impressed. I was so impressed of him in coverage and just how he was just able to immediately come in there and make an impact on this team. And I don't know what it costs. I don't know what that looks like, but I would love to have him back. And I started a campaign. I don't know if you guys saw on Twitter, Jair Alexander maybe leaving the Green Bay Packers. How you feel about him coming to Pittsburgh? I feel like we could get a coupon and get him for a good deal.
He gonna want money. He getting money though. Like,
I'm just saying, we could get an ankle discount. Maybe
he ain't nickel and diming to come to us.
Nah, I mean, I don't see it. I hope that's the case. But then we also got potential Jalen Johnson.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to saying that.
And Corey Trice will be back.
And Corey Trice will be back too.
Yeah.
Darius Rush. I want to see him in year
Corey
2.
Trice will be back.
Yeah, I don't see.
Yeah, I'm excited to see
Alexander. He's gonna cost money. He ain't coming to Pittsburgh to take no granddaddy bag.
Yeah, it's the guaranteed, man. It's the guaranteed. I'm sure.
I will say this defense has to get faster. This defense is too slow. Absolutely. I mean, there's some downhill hitters, but they're older, and you got Josh Allen outrunning your entire team. That's a problem. So this team, speed's not the stale end all, but it's got to be a faster defense.
We need somebody that's going to tackle too. I was speaking to somebody about them not wanting the KZ to come back. I said KZ at one point was the only person that was hitting people downfield, that was hitting the tight ends, that was coming out in the flat from the safety position and making that tackle. So I mean, he gonna make that hit.
He just going but he's a liability in coverage. It was a pick of poison. But when we talk about our defense need to get faster, our defense, yes, speed is great. But it's the angles we take that irritates me. It's not even the speed. Football is about angles. You could have a Tyreek Hill streaking down a go route, and if you take a great angle and you're not as fast, you still have an opportunity to catch him. We are bad at angling. Like, we take the worst angles, whether it's tackling or in breaking in coverage. And back to be with you with Eric Rowe. Eric Rowe is the same Eric Rowe for Miami Dolphins. Like, he's always had that impact potential. It's just that, teams get another younger guy in. They see he's starting to do something a little better. They put the older guy, to the back burner.
What's Eric Rowe's age?
Eric Rowe's right about 30.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know why I thought he was younger than that. I'm sorry.
What you mean?
I'm so sorry.
That's young.
That's young.
You know who took
back
30?
You know who took
31.
30 is not young.
You know who took back angles?
Who?
You know who took back angles the whole season?
Who?
Patrick Peterson.
I knew it was coming.
First off, it wasn't even Pat. Yeah, it wasn't even Pat angles. Patrick didn't want to tackle or cover.
Play flag.
Texas the new Dane. Texas the new Dane.
No, but listen.
No, I'm not.
But Patrick Peterson, when we put Patrick at safety, we got better production out of him at safety.
Absolutely.
Than we put him in the slot. So when we brought him back, when we got Minka and we got KZ back for the last game, one of my biggest questions were, how do we implement those guys into what was already working while they were out? And what they did, it kind of made me. It was a little confusing because you were putting Minka in with Eric Rowe in the back end. They have no continuity. They ain't play together, so they really like that. So that one touchdown where Minka goes to the left and covers the deep third, and Eric goes to the right, and the tight end Kincaid is wide open in the middle of the field. That's a communication error that I feel
that was Pat P.
That was Eric Rowe
No,
on
that was
the
Eric
second
Rowe.
one. That was Eric Rowe.
The second one. Okay, I thought you meant
The first one was
But
a
where
Pat
he
P
got help?
went to the
Yeah.
flat when he was supposed to
No,
drop back.
This was past one, a tight to the tight end. But they were like my thought would have been, okay, if you're gonna bring one safety in, because you want three safeties now, right? Because at times we had Pat, Minka, KZ, or Pat, Minka, Eric, and they were putting Patrick in the slot. Why? We saw for 7 straight games what happened when you put him in the slot. He's lost.
Yeah.
He's going the wrong way. He ain't even nowhere near the play. But when we put him at safety, he gave us better. I just felt like placement at times. I just feel like at times when I said Terrell Austin and why I brought it up, and I thought I hope we didn't resign him, but not just this year, but last year, we don't put our players in the best position to win. We don't utilize the strength that we really have and put them out there with the right packages. It's like Patrick Peterson should have never been at the slot spot. Not at all. I'd have rather seen Sullivan. I'd have rather seen Sullivan at the slot because at least we know if he's going to get beat, he's going to make a tackle. He ain't going to give up both. Dudes was leaving Patrick Peterson, and then his arm tackle had him even gone.
Smoke. No smoke. He wanted no smoke.
He was playing freeze tag.
I wanna ask if the change in strength and conditioning, it sounds like Rowe, of course, hold on. Marcel and Rowe are gone, but it sounds like Rowe was also like let go. Like it wasn't his choice. So just based off his message, because he didn't know what was next or whatever. I'm reading
about Eric Rowe.
No. Sorry, I call him Rodane from assistant strength and conditioning. So do you think there is was an issue with that? I don't have any inside information on this one. But for that team to go, the head and the assistant to go, does that ring a bell or anything or raise a flag for you guys?
Only if we were getting a lot of people injured. Like typically it falls on them when it's like hella injuries, and it's stupid injuries, like hamstring, hamstring.
Linebacker room is out.
No, but that was play. Those was
play
injuries.
I get it.
Yeah, I'm talking about
you mean
everybody got hamstring issues.
Soft tissue.
Yeah, soft tissue issue.
Yeah.
That's when you have a problem with your strength and conditioning, because then you're saying, okay, you're not doing something right to take care of our players just from a keeping their body up standpoint. But ACLs and stuff like that from hits, that doesn't fall on strength and conditioning.
So you know what? I think that's probably something that came out at the X interviews. That could be something the players
Hire Terry Crews.
That could have been something that came out of the X interviews because I think even when those guys are hurt and rehabbing and stuff, we had a lot of injured guys. So that could have been a takeaway from that. I don't know. I don't know for sure, but I'm gonna try to find out.
That's a question. We had a corner. I mean, he came up the practice squad. I don't know if he was a safety or a corner. I don't know if it was Eric Rowe. It wasn't Eric Rowe, and it wasn't what's the other guy? But we had another guy came in, balled out.
Trenton Thompson.
What's
17. He got hurt.
He was hurt.
He was hurt.
Yeah, he got hurt.
Yeah, he got hurt.
He came back and they got hurt. He was hurt, came back, got hurt the very next game. They put him on IR.
Yeah, he was on the injury report.
Wow.
And towards the end of the season and stuff. But I want to talk about the changes that
they happened to Rush, right?
No, Rush was healthy.
Wow, dang.
Rush. Oh yeah, we brought him. Oh, never seen him.
They weren't playing it.
We never seen him. We never seen Jalen Smith, the linebacker. We never seen Blake Martinez.
You know what's funny though? When we look at the players that we did give away that Houston Texans took, like the Desmond Kings and balled out, and then Steve Nelson with his pick six. It was just funny watching all of those players that were still his players, and they were eating like they were
Arthur
eating before they
Millette
came to
shining in
Pittsburgh.
Baltimore. He's been making some dirty plays. I love it. Actually, I was happy for him. I want to talk about the Harbaugh hiring, the other Harbaugh hiring, and for the Chargers, and how do you think that changes the look and landscape of the AFC? Do you
I
think
don't
Nothing.
that
think it
changes
changed. I don't
any?
think it changed at all.
Nothing.
I don't think it changes.
Okay.
I think it
Chargers are
makes
sore.
brings a little bit of life back just because of what he did
San
with the
Fran.
49ers back then when they first went, him and his brother first played in the Super Bowl. Um
Mm,
and it just brings a different dynamic. I think, over the years we know that, with Herbert being there, Keenan Allen and, Austin Eckler, some of the, pieces that they had offensively, they
The
always had
Bosa's, the Mac.
weapons. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? But I think that the difference, of course, is coaching. You know what I'm saying? So I think that Harbaugh definitely, puts them in, the running to be more of a threat in the AFC than they have been in the past, few years. But like the Chargers have always like been just like right there, but just like not enough. So I
yeah.
think,
Yeah.
like I said, I think that coaching change kind of like, boost them up a little bit.
But
I
remember
think
when Brandon Stokely came, the Chargers was damn near top 10 the first 2 years offensively. So, like, what
they
happened from the first 2 years to the last?
their defense has always been Rudy Poo. Poo Poo. Been
So
Rudy
you're
Poo
gonna
Poo.
add
Yeah, I
anything?
mean, that's true, T.
He said
Do you
Rudy
have
Poo.
any
But
outlook
the,
or perspective of what you think will happen within the AFC with this new hire, Alex, of the other Harbaugh? I always
No,
get
I
them Jim
basically
and John mixed up, so I just call them the Harbaugh,
I just gonna say I say
the
Harbaugh
tall
too.
one.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I don't think it's going to change the complexion dramatically, but the Chargers, like you said, Jay, they were just always a team that found a way to lose. And all Harbaugh has done in his career is win. At San Francisco, at Michigan, he brings that kind of culture. So the Chargers can really realize their talent. That's another team with another really good quarterback in the AFC. And then you compare that to Pittsburgh and say, can you stack up? So we'll see for sure. I'm not surprised to see Harbaugh make the jump. He won his ring, won his championship in Michigan. He did what he was brought in to do. I'm sure he's making a boatload of money with the Chargers now. Don't have to deal with the portal and NIL, all that kind of stuff. It's a little bit simpler in the NFL to some degree. So doesn't change it dramatically, but the Chargers, I think, will be a more competitive and a team that can close out games.
I'm more interested to see what he can do with Derwin James, Khalil Mack, and Bosa. I'm more interested to see how he can pull that defense together to really play to what their skill sets are. Because they
Yeah.
haven't been
They've been,
using
They
Derwin James
gotta stay
properly.
healthy.
They have not been using Derwin James properly.
been Poo Poo.
They gotta stay healthy. Someone asked why wasn't Desmond King on the field. I don't know if anybody answered that.
What
I
you
feel like I
mean?
just didn't believe in the kid, but I don't know if
Why
anybody has
wasn't
a
he on the field for when?
Oh, when he was with us, when he
Desmond
was with
Pittsburgh.
the
King.
Steelers.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
Steelers. Sorry, this is Steelers.
he
They
didn't make it.
he never even made the team. They released him.
Yeah, he didn't make
Yeah.
it.
He
Well,
never
he
even made
But
the
was
like I said,
team.
inactive.
I was discouraged, especially
Yeah,
when
he
I
was inactive
seen
for.
the play from at least from especially like somebody like Levi Wallace, what he did last year. I'm like, why would you let Desmond King go? Desmond King got a better resume to me than Levi Wallace. And I mean, I think it would probably more so had to do with him with like Levi Wallace having 4 interceptions last year. But with that being said, I mean, he still kind of like was giving up a lot. And I mean,
Desmond
like you said, bringing Patrick Peterson in didn't really help,
Look,
so.
Poo Poo.
I'll look. I have to actually when I think about it and all the new pieces and the huge turnover on the defense, I gotta give these guys some credit because it was a huge turnover on that defense. Your linebacker room, your inside linebacker room, your
Your
you
lineman.
lost Sutton, you lost Edmonds. That continuity, that communication, that is big. It is so hard to replace. Like I think people take it for granted. They see good players on other teams, but they don't realize that continuity, communication. I know what you're gonna do. You do this all the time. When I know we know, right? Or when you're playing a divisional opponent, we have that communication. We have that sync. If you're not even part of the division, you don't know. What Chase. Jamar Chase is doing, but like we know, we see this. I got you. I'll cover here. You got there. We know what he about to do. So I think we didn't give them enough credit for putting together things for what's such a team that didn't have a lot of time or didn't have a lot of continuity in on multiple levels. And as I sit and think about it, I'm like, I gotta give these guys credit. And then with the injuries, you get a whole nother flux of guys coming in that don't have the relationship and communication. So I don't know how often guys are communicating and teaching guys on the practice squad about what's watching film again. I don't know what that looks like day to day when they're not on the field together. So that was a big hurdle to overcome, and I think they did a decent job with that. And
If our
I'm
It was
sorry,
offense,
I,
Pat. It
that was
was
just
Pat.
a revelation I had. I'm like, dang, they really went through a
we gonna
lot,
say it was
and
Pat Peterson.
It was Pat P fault. Pat P been there. Pat P been there since summer camp, and he was still putting
summer
people in the
camp.
wrong position. 'Cause, yeah, he went to summer camp. He ain't trade. He went to summer camp. He was still
But
putting
then
people.
now
I
you see
watched
you
Pat
see
Pool.
Cam you see Cam Sutton,
Look,
even though Cam Sutton getting in some trouble
That
over in
boy getting
Detroit, but you
cooked.
see him,
Mhm.
getting in some good positions, even though he's got some PI problems.
If our offense would have gave our defense more help in the earliest part of the season, because if you think about it, our offense was putting up no more than what 7, 10 points a game, and defense was accounting for other points or field positioning for us to get points. If our offense would have just gave our defense a little bit of help, our defense would have been a top 10 defense. Mind you, we have our defense is the reason why we're over the cap, where our defense is heavily paid.
Yep. So we'll see. Alex, you have any thoughts on the cap comment as far as like what
We
you
got to
think
structure.
will be
We got
moved around and
yeah.
create space because we
We
got to
got
bring in
yeah.
some guys.
We got to restructure for sure.
Yeah, I'm no cap expert. Dave from Steelers Depot handles that. That's his wheelhouse. I would expect
Mhm.
Kim Hayward to get an extension that's going to reduce his base salary, his cap charge for this year. You're going to see Allen Robinson very likely just released or some sort of major pay cut. Of course, Chukwuma McCoy, he's due a roster bonus that will not be picked up. He will be released in the free agency. If they can re-sign Mitch Trubisky, or excuse me, re-sign Mason Rudolph, and Mitch
Oh,
Trubisky they will decline his roster bonus, and so those
you
things will
scared
be
me
the
there.
primary. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to give some
I
sort
was
of
like,
effect.
I was like,
Yeah,
what?
Look, everybody was like, "No."
keeping you guys on your toes. We re-sign Rudolph, then Trubisky will go. You can restructure Alex Highsmith's contract. He got that long-term deal recently, so
Last
there are
year.
ways to do it. They'll create some space. They won't have a ton of cap space, but they'll be able to make their moves.
Yeah, I think if
Did,
they give more of a so like for Alex got his contract last year, and then TJ got a couple more
I know
years on
Minka did a
his,
restructure
and then
already. I don't
Minka
know.
restructured already. But all they need,
Doesn't mean
throw
he
some
can't
of
do it
that
again. I feel
right,
like
throw
Marlon
some
Humphrey
cash up.
restructured every year.
Right, all they gotta do is throw some cash, like take that
in the
cash from the
front end.
back end, put it on the front end as guaranteed,
Mm-hmm.
right? So now you make their guarantee a lot more to where it's taken off the back end. So now you have maybe 3.5K or 3.5 mil that you can, put towards here. But they gotta do something because we can't keep
Because
nickel and diming, and we can't keep switching our offensive line. Like all is for nothing if we go next year, and I know we need a new center, but aside from the new center, probably one other person, like we can't reshuffle the entire offensive line again and then come out and be like, the offensive line ain't good enough. Now, we talk about communication from a defensive perspective. Just think about the over communication that our offensive line has to do. And you don't get that
Yeah.
just going to training camp, or I'm sorry, summer camp, as Dex said. They don't get all that just going to summer camp.
That to add to
I
those
have one
players.
last question, but go ahead, Jeremy. I'm gonna ask my last question after you go.
Okay, my bad. I was gonna say to add to the players defensively. Hopefully, they can restructure Ogunjobi and Levi Wallace as well. If they're going to keep Wallace, hopefully not. But
For certain.
I mean, I'm not wishing no bad on nobody to leave or whatever in case maybe they
Oh,
lose their job. But I mean, like I say, these are times where though, like you said, you need to restructure to make room for other players to be able to get on the team. So
Hey Jay, when we was watching the game live, right? And when I can't remember what he say, don't put them in, don't put them in.
please don't. Are
And
you
D
talking about
said,
Pierre?
wait. Then they said Pierre's coming. He was like, oh.
Yo.
My heart dropped. My
I
heart
like
dropped.
James Pierre out there.
He said James
They need
Peter out
to
there.
My
they
heart.
need
Yeah.
to
My heart dropped.
restructure Pat P to assistant coach. They can reconstruction Pat P to
Okay.
the assistant coach.
So it was one last question, but before I get to the last question, I have another one. Would you be open to Brad Wing coming in permanently at punter?
Yes.
Hell
I'll start with
yes.
Alex.
Yeah.
Harvin.
Oh, sorry.
They
Sorry.
just need a punter. I don't care if it's UD. You can go out there and punt a couple and see how
No,
it
y'all
looks.
ain't
I
gonna be
mean,
talking
I'll
about
take
me.
it.
I'm not gonna be as nice as those guys.
Look,
No, they
Yeah.
got to make a move. They tried Harvin for 3 years. Seems like a good guy, but they need a field flipper if this offense is not going to be, a top scoring unit, which it probably won't. They need someone that can flip the field, especially in bad weather late in the season. Harvin is not that guy. So Wing, maybe a draft pick, bring some people in.
I feel
I
like
was
Wing, you could probably get Wing at a decent price. So,
I was
um,
Yeah.
disappointed that I was disappointed because I had somebody that was at the game, and I shared this with you guys as you was watching the game live. At 4:28, I was texting saying Harvin is doing terrible in warmups, and at that point, we dressed Brad Wing. I feel like honestly, we saw everything we needed to see from Presley doing warmups, where they should have just went ahead and let Brad Wing, kick in the game because he did the absolute worst. He couldn't have did no worse in that game.
ouch. Okay. Kenneth suggesting an Iowa punter. Whatever's cheaper. If we need to pick for something else, bring in Brad Wing. I'm cool with it. My
Yeah.
last question.
I
Did anybody have any punter comments before I go to the last question?
But just Torrey Taylor is the Iowa punter, and he is ridiculous. So he'll be a hot name come the draft.
yeah, I
Tory
feel like
Taylor.
Presley Harvin, like he started blaming the bull. Like every time you look, he was
No,
like the bull did
I'm
it.
done with him today. Dex
I was like,
is
he did. He did. Look, he did have some times where as though he looking like, well, why? I
like
mean, what you arguing about, bro? You kicked the
I'm
20
blaming the
yards.
ball.
you're kicking, bro. You can't blame the bull.
Deflate gate, huh? Deflate gate
I'm
all over
sorry.
again.
Yeah,
Hey,
please,
Okay.
God.
yeah.
Last but not least, my guy, Pat Fryer Muse.
Mm.
This is something, a conversation I had. Was it Hawkinson that got the big deal before the season started last year?
Yeah,
I
Yep.
was like, look,
Mm-hmm.
Pat P, this is your time to shine. You got to go out there. You have to have a successful season. You have to dominate. You got to get in the end zone. You got to be that guy for your team if you want to even sniff whatever TJ Hawkinson got. I don't know what it is at the time at this moment, but at the time it was a big deal because we already know the guaranteed in Pittsburgh is a little funny. So based off, he did have some injuries this year. He looked better at blocking than I think he's looked his whole time in Pittsburgh. Based off what you saw on film from Pat Freiermuth, do you think he is worth the extension?
I think he's worth it, but I don't think he's worth resetting, or I don't think he's like so. And like for football, my coach used to always say, your best ability is your availability. I think he's been hurt, last couple years, so he
That
really
was a
hasn't been
hamstring,
able to.
right?
Mhm.
Right. But he really hasn't been able to have that full
Mm-hmm.
year. I think we bring him back for sure. I don't see why we wouldn't. He is our best tight end. And as you said, blocking wise, he got better. But he is that X factor on offense that we don't utilize enough, especially across the middle of the field.
Um, I think
Definitely.
he's been
My
a,
bad. Go ahead.
I think he's been a victim of play calling. Also the injury bug. Hopefully we get a season with a or the real OC because Manada was not it. And let's just see what he does. Let's see what he
Man,
does. And what this is what fifth year? This is
No,
his
this will
fifth.
be his
this
No,
is
fourth
he
this
came
year.
is
in with
this is
Last
fourth
Najee.
year.
year.
His
So
No,
fourth
this is
last
year.
year was
fourth.
Him
his
and
fourth
Najee came in
year.
together.
Right. So the
Okay,
Steelers got to
so
pick up
great.
his fifth year option for
Right.
Najee.
I figured pick it up and
No, that's
give
for
him one more
Najee.
chance.
That's for
Najee.
Najee.
That's
Oh,
for
It's for
Yeah,
Najee.
Najee.
Fryermuth has no
I didn't
That's
option.
even.
what.
We'll talk
Yeah.
about him later
Uh,
because I feel like that's not. I feel like that's probably gonna happen. So,
so
but
bottom line,
yeah,
just let's see what he can do. You know what I mean? Like hopefully he stays healthy enough to prove it. And let's see what he can do. With
I
some
th-
good play calling.
I think Pittsburgh would be willing to do an extension. If I'm Pat Frymouth, I might bet on myself. He had a good finish to the year, but it was kind of a lost year. And if he can have the season he had his first 2 years, catch 60 balls for 800 yards, 5 or so touchdowns, you'll cash in after your rookie contract expires. So if I'm him, I might say, thanks for the offer, guys, but that's a little low. I'm going to bet on myself, have a big year, and then get paid big time after 2024.
But that's hoping. That's hoping there's no injury though, because then if you get hurt by you bet on it, that's Russian roulette. Either way it goes. So you bet on yourself and you play, and you get injured. Now you decrease your value.
Right, it's a bet for sure. But players are always betting on themselves. They're always the most confident in their own ability, and Frymouth has played well when he's been healthy.
But you have to be that way in football because the coaches do what they for themselves, so the players have to as well.
Yeah,
I agree. I like Pat, but I would like to see him full strength for a full year because he is a game changer.
Yeah,
you got to throw the ball this way. Go ahead, Jay.
My bad. I was gonna kind of piggyback off of what Dex was saying as far as like the him being, of course he got to be healthy. That's what we all talking about. But then you got to get him the ball. You got to give him a chance to kind of like prove himself. I mean, I think this year was kind of like the year that it probably wouldn't have mattered anyway because we had a lot of inconsistency with our quarterback play, and we had a lot of inconsistencies with the proficient play calling. And then with him not being there, it made it just that more difficult. Plus the inability for us to run earlier in the year. So I mean, it was kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't. But I mean, like I definitely think that you give him this year. Hopefully he doesn't get so enamored by Hawkinson deal that he gets on a high horse and is thinking team first. And then maybe at that point next year, if they don't give him, okay, cool, you ball out next year, and then somebody's going to give you that big contract. It probably won't be Pittsburgh, but if you're willing to kind of like take that deal and kind of like put the team first, then you'll get that success, and you'll probably go get that money from somebody else.
He'll be a good 49er.
He's a Pennsylvania Penn State guy. Might want to take a Pennsylvania discount. I don't know. I think in the beginning of the season, I think Kenny Pickett he was probably one of Kenny Pickett's favorite targets. And in the beginning, and they just couldn't like get there. I think what game was that? Where did he have 2 touchdowns?
That was in a.
And then I think the game after Matt Canada.
Yeah,
that wasn't at the Cincinnati game.
Matt Canada. Yeah, the Cincinnati game, he was a favorite target. I felt like there's so many things in the way of what he could have been, and I felt I thought like if we had a Ben-esque type player, and I'm sorry I'm going back to Ben Roethlisberger, but I felt like that relationship would have been amazing if we had a Pat Freiermuth a couple of years before Ben left us. I think that would have put him in a great position to go out there and make a ton of money because you would have had a guy with that knowledge to be able to get him the ball the way that he needs to be.
Real quick, D. Can I ask Alice a question? I don't really see him much on here, and so I wanted to ask him a question. Would you?
I said yeah, sure. Alex is sure.
Yes, he gives me permission.
What would you like the QB room to look like next year?
I mean, me personally, if I was Omar Khan, listen, I don't hate Kenny Pickett. I know he's been through a lot. I just don't think he's going to be the guy that's going to compete with Mahomes and Josh Allen, Lamar. Those guys are not going anywhere either. So if I'm Pittsburgh, I'm going through the draft. I don't have a particular name, but I'm going back to that of the draft. Will they do that? Probably not. They'll probably re-sign Rudolph and have him and Pickett compete for the job for week 1. But I think in 2025, they're going to say, all right, guys, we got to go find a quarterback again. And they're going to go back to the draft.
That is, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I've been saying this since last year. Kenny.
Hold on, real quick. So in that regard, your quarterback room would look like it's the same as it is now next year?
In terms of what I would do or what they will actually do?
I mean, in terms of what you would do.
I think it's the difficulty of it is trying to draft a quarterback when you're sitting at 20. You're not getting Caleb Williams. You're not getting Drake
Right.
May. Those guys are unattainable. So you're in that awkward spot, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, something like that. You're in this kind of purgatory. So this may not be the year to get that quarterback, but you're going to be my point is at some point sooner than later, they're going to probably have to explore draft options again. Maybe next year, but some point sooner than later.
I wish a Bo Nix was available at 20. I'm sorry. Like when
You
we
guys
talk,
don't,
I hope
we
so.
have no idea what Chicago's gonna do. We think we know, we don't. They signed a new OC, so that's gonna be interesting. For me, I'm still not off of the worst case scenario on the quarterback. And we're gonna end this. I'm sorry, I know we went over a little bit. The worst case scenario for me is they go after the cheap thing, the affordable thing, which would be a Russell Wilson. I'm not saying Russell Wilson's terrible. I'm just saying we know how the Pittsburgh Steelers spend their money, and that is the affordable thing, right? That's the great value quarterback right now. If we talk about that, I want a name. I want a name brand, and if it's not a name brand right now, I want it to be able to mature into the name brand. Like I want it to be able to make that high dollar, high value quarterback guy. If it's in the draft, that's fine. That my fear is that we go after the great value thing and add it to the room. And that's it, and that's all. So but I'm still off. I'm not off the train that Mike Tomlin wants a quarterback that can move. So I'm not off that train yet. So when we'll see, and if we get that quarterback that has some more mobility than a Kenny Pickett, I'll be happy. I'll be happy to see what that looks like. But we're not. We don't know yet. We still got to figure out the OC thing. We got a lot of not a lot of time, but a lot of decisions that have to be made. So, but I love you guys. Thank you everybody in the chat. I didn't shout you guys out earlier, so just thank you everybody. Jay, Ken, Ali, Kev even stopped by. I just want to thank everybody for coming through, sending questions and comments and stuff. And I want to thank everybody else. Thank you guys for coming on with me. I know it wasn't a ton of notice, but I appreciate you. And helping me get through a lot of the news that came out. I'm probably sure I missed something. And that's okay, because we'll be back. I'll be out at Pro Bowl. So hopefully Minka comes, hopefully Miles comes, and hopefully TJ comes. TJ did not come last year, so we'll see. And we'll see which one of our guys actually show up. And y'all got some last parting words?
What are y'all picks for this week?
I already said Ravens and Lions was my pick on my show to be the Super Bowl pick, so I can't go astray from it.
Okay.
I'll be boring. I'll say Ravens and Niners. I want the Lions to win, but I'll go chalk with the 1 seeds.
Yeah,
I saw the script already. I saw the script already.
That's Rudy Poo.
I saw the script. Y'all know what it is.
Yeah.
What's the script?
What's the script? Is it Ravens and 49ers?
Ravens and Niners. They are the script has been written.
I think that's pretty much where everybody going with the Ravens and Niners. And I mean, at that point, I was speaking to somebody else about it. I said, if the Ravens win, you might as well pretty much give them the Super Bowl, because they done smacked the other two teams in the NFC already. It ain't like they don't know, but the only thing that they can probably do is, beat themselves. If they beat themselves, that's the only chance that, the NFC team may have to win the Super Bowl. But which the Ravens can do. The Ravens will do that. I mean, and they did that against us both times we beat them this year. They beat themselves. So it's possible.
2 weeks ago, I said the AFC was winning the Super Bowl. I mean, I just think that the way I said the NFC. I meant the AFC. The AFC was winning the Super Bowl. It's just the way the AFC is playing football. I just feel like the NFC can be had easily. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't know. Like, a part of me, I really am team Lamar Jackson right now, and I would love that for him and just everything that he went through and this whole contract thing for so long.
I'm being a hater, even though I live in Maryland.
I can't do that.
I ain't rooting for the Ravens. But they're a great team. I'm hating just because of my team. Yeah. But we talked objectively earlier. I'd be lying if I say they don't have a shot.
Yeah. If you guys want to shout yourselves out here, we'll go around. We'll start with Jay, then Terrence, and Dex, and then Alex. I just want to thank y'all for coming. Let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, again on all social medias, man. You can follow me. The name on my bar right there, J Rock the Polymath on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I'm on there.
Yeah, he's on
I'm
X now. Twitter. Yay.
Yeah, I do also with the Steelers chat. I do another show called AFC North Talk. And I have my own podcast on YouTube as well called After the Whistle.
All right, cool.
You can
Oh,
find
Terrence.
everything Pits and Push, pitsandpush.com. You can also find everything, all social media, iHeart, iTunes, Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts. We also are on Channel 77, Verizon Channel 11, Comcast, and Verizon. And you can catch us. I'm gonna ask Omar Khan this question at the combine for the HBCU combine I'll be at in February. I'm gonna try to see
Okay.
if I can get some answers out of him down there in Louisiana.
All right.
I might have to get you. I might have to get your number on that so we can
Oh,
slide up.
hey, bro, I can get you field passes too.
Oh, you
For
already
the HBCU Legacy, I already got my passes. Just let me
all
know.
right. I'm gonna holler at you.
Yeah.
I love it. Go ahead, Dex.
Yeah. You can find me on Twitter at BK Steeler Nation. You can follow me on Instagram at I am Dex. And like I said, like I always say, I'm rocking with D Sports. Um, so there it is. There it is right there.
Thanks, man.
And you
Go ahead,
can
Alex.
find me on Twitter at Alex_Kazora and check out the site SteelersDepot.com.
All right. Thank you. All right. Y'all, thank you for joining. Thank you. We went over a little over today, but I had a good time. Dex, you're hilarious. Thank you for being our villain of the night. I'll check you guys later. I'll try to see you guys next week. All right. Take care,
All
y'all.
right.
Good night.
Hey, Rudy Poo.
Hey.